All right, everyone. I think we're live. Welcome to Wino Wednesday.
Welcome. Good to be here.
Good to be here with, I am your hostess, Gina, with...
I am RobbyG, the professor of cheese.
Yes, Professor McCheese, Professor of Cheese.
Whatever you want to call me.
The all-known being of cheese.
Sure.
This is all good. All good. Thanks,
Jesus.
everybody. Jesus. Yeah, oh gosh, here
No,
we go.
Jesus.
Haven't even had much wine and Jesus. Yeah.
We're out of control.
Out of control. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining. If this is your first time, appreciate you joining. If it's more than your first time, really appreciate you coming back. So just to kind of give a lay of the land, we are just going to talk through some of the cheeses. If you ordered a plate today, we're going to tell you all about what you've got on there. We're going to talk a little bit about the wine if you so chose to pick the Bordeaux, because today we are saying bravo to Bordeaux. And then also, if you have a YouTube account, you can ask questions, and I'll try to answer them, and we'll field your questions that way. If you don't, sorry, that's the only way we can do the chat right now, but we'll try to touch base on everything that we can think of to tell you all about the
email
region.
us later.
Email us later. Oh, actually, email rob@venissimo.com.
You can email me anytime with cheese questions.
Perfect. Okay.
Or just life questions.
Questions. So first, we always start the Wino Wednesdays with a cheers, salute, and what do they say in French? Chanté, enchanté.
Something like that.
Bon
appetit.
Bon appetit, exactly.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everyone. So Bordeaux. Wow. Yeah.
So much.
Tell us about Bordeaux.
Yeah, and before we do that, for Wino Wednesdays, we pick either a style or a varietal or just some kind of wine to focus on, and it always comes with 4 cheeses and of course all the other goodies on the plate, which we will walk you through today. So there's 4 cheeses, but use your best self-control because we'll talk about the wine first. Go ahead and give yourself a pour.
Yes.
Now, when we say Bordeaux, kind of like when we talk about Burgundy, we are talking about a region. So we're not talking about any specific varietal. We're not even really talking about red or white, or even, it could be dessert wine, like in the case of Sauterne, which is a Bordeaux.
See, I learn something every day.
Yeah.
Sauterne is a Bordeaux because it comes from Bordeaux.
Yeah.
region.
So Sauterne is an appellation in Bordeaux, in the region of Bordeaux, which is a historic region in Aquitaine, Nouvelle-Aquitaine, which is a region in the southwest of France. And it kind of is, it's considered a port city. It's the 6th largest metropolitan area in France, largely built around their wine industry, an industry that does about 15 billion euros
Oh my God.
a year.
That's crazy. I heard it, the largest wine region in the world, Bordeaux.
Yes. Well, definitely in terms of number of appellations and I think the money it generates for sure.
Yeah.
And I keep saying this word appellation. It's
Appellation.
funny.
That's true. What is appellation?
When I applied to be a waiter with no experience at Mr. A's about 20 years ago,
Oh my God.
they were like, okay, you just got to take this test, name 15 appellations in Bordeaux. And I was like,
God.
I'm a little rusty.
You were 12 then. Like, how could you have known?
Sure. Thank you, Gina. They let me be a busser. I had to bus tables. I couldn't be a waiter yet. But
To know that answer to that question.
When I started learning about it, I was told, think of appellations like a box within a box. You know those like those kind of prank gifts where you keep opening like a box within a box within a box.
Yeah.
So appellations could be within other appellations.
God, that's too confusing.
I know.
Yeah.
But the smaller, they can be very, very small or very large, but there can be smaller appellations within larger appellations, and the smaller they are, usually the more highly regarded they are.
Kind of makes sense. Yeah. More exclusive.
And Bordeaux is, I don't know how many appellations, but there's quite a few. And they're all along the bank. So a lot of times they're set out to be on the right bank or the left bank, kind of like Paris is. And it's 80% red. 80% of the wines are red, 20% come out as whites. But the red grapes and they're usually blended. It's another thing. So
I always thought Bordeaux was its own grape. Honestly. Yeah, but not.
That's what we're here for.
That's why we're here.
So they're typically blended, and they will say the name of the region, and a lot of European products will do this. With there's a lot of wines that do this. They'll say the region, and then they assume like what grapes come from there. and sometimes the grapes are listed on the bottle.
Yeah.
So what's in this one?
Different. So this one is 80% Merlot and 20% Cab Franc.
Okay.
So if you picked it today, it's Chateau Blanc. I can never pronounce French right, and I know there's going to be French people that can say it better, but Chateau.
That's why I'm not listing the appellations, because I'm going to butcher the name.
Yes,
I'm not a French speaker.
But Merlot, Cab Franc, and Merlots don't stink. Contrary to that movie that pretty much ruined Merlots, poor Merlots in these countries. Isn't Merlot such a prominent grape in Bordeaux?
Paul Giamatti,
Such
remember? A good actor.
Yeah.
Yes, I forget what that movie's called. But
it's called Sideways.
That's a really good movie.
Which will be me if I drink this whole thing.
It just did a lot of damage to Merlot, did a lot of good for Pinot Noir.
Yes, exactly.
And by the way, Pinot Noir is the grape that the red grape that kind of goes with Burgundy. Just if there's a number of grapes from Burgundy and a number of grapes from Bordeaux, but the red grape that's mostly connected with Burgundy is Pinot Noir,
Yes.
and the red grape that's most commonly, I would say, connected with Bordeaux is Cabernet Sauvignon.
Cabernet Sauvignon, yep.
But I want to list the 5. There's 5 that are typically used and blended from Bordeaux for red grapes, and they are Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Malbec, and P'tit Verdot.
I would have never guessed Malbec. For some reason, I always think Malbec's just a South American grape or something. But okay, Malbec there too.
They get connected with certain places.
Well, this is yummy.
Is it?
Can we just start there?
That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I hadn't dove into Bordeaux because you don't see those here. I mean, it's not a California, obviously, because it's not Bordeaux. So it's kind of fun to try it, but I like it. Little dry, yeah.
And so some of that so because they're 80% red, Cab is what gives it all that body, and the tannin acts as the preserver, kind of like salt does for cheese.
Isn't that interesting?
And so that's
which comes from the skins, right?
Yeah. And so that's why a lot of Bordeaux can age for long amounts of time. And then really quick before I forget, the white grapes are Muscadel, Sauvignon Blanc, Semillon, and something called Ugni Blanc, which I've never even heard of it.
How do you spell that?
Ugni Blanc.
Uni Blanc. Never heard that. So we'll have to investigate that for some future.
And
so these are, you're saying all of those predominant in Bordeaux region.
Yeah, and so they'll typically get blended. Bordeaux is kind of known for its terroir, and that's a term you hear a lot more in wine tasting, but it applies to cheese as well.
Yeah.
And it comes from the Latin for terra, which is earth.
Yeah.
And so it's like the flavor of, or the taste of place, or the flavor of that earth.
Yeah.
So the grapes come from a certain type of earth that picks up all the minerals and all the flavor of that dirt, basically.
Of the dirt. Well, that explains why you always hear people they're in France or you're in Italy and you had a tomato that was the best tomato you ever had, and it's because it was in that place. It came from that place, probably some really good earth.
I've heard all kinds of crazy arguments about terroir, that it's not just like physically the environment, which is like the dirt, the aging room, the air, the molds and bacteria, but it's also the culture of the place. It is like the techniques and things that were passed down, and the same is true of cheese. All of that, everything plays a part in how the finished product comes out.
Yeah. I think I read something that Bordeaux actually, speaking of the techniques, Bordeaux is the region where modern winemaking techniques came from, right? Like, and I heard like it was like what did I write down? Because I was learning a little bit. 4th century BC is when they first recorded winemaking in Bordeaux.
That's a long time ago.
That's a long time ago. That's a lot of winemaking experience and skill and old grapevine.
We were going to, and we're going to talk about the cheeses in a second.
Yes, because I want to eat one.
we were talking about like what cheeses to select, because there's actually not a lot of cheeses from
Bordeaux,
that little region,
which is so interesting. You'd think it'd be a good climate for it or whatever, and not so many cheeses from there.
Well, you know what my theory on that is that...
I'm gonna guess.
Do you want to guess?
No, you go. You do it.
Okay. Well, and you can say whether or not this is what you were thinking or not, but we'll trust you.
Okay.
I think the land is too valuable and needs to be used to grow grapes, And so they're like, I'm not going to waste it because you need a lot of land to have animals, especially cows.
Yeah.
And so they're like, we're not wasting this on anything
but the grapes.
Yeah.
I think you're exactly right. That would have been my guess. I think that happens in like Napa and stuff, not to digress,
absolutely.
but I think that the grapes are valuable, grape land.
Well, if you can put Bordeaux on the label, it's very valuable.
Very valuable.
And so that's what they do. They've done it for generations. They've done it for centuries, for what's millennia. So the cheeses we chose were from adjacent regions.
Okay, so we could get as close of terroir that we could.
Yeah. Where should we start for the cheeses? What do you think?
I think we should start with the goat, because I always like to start with the goat.
Okay.
So let's do, if we may, the goat, everyone.
Let's show you what's
on your plate. If you can see it right here, it's the softie on everyone's plate today. Fleur de Res.
Fleur de Res.
Yeah, Fleur de Res. And it's beautiful, soft ripened, which means if you can see this on your piece, the inside's really kind of chalky, what you expect from a fresh chèvre. Well, it will crumble if you kind of play with it. But then that outer edge where you see it's kind of a little golden beige, it's really ripening. The wider that edge, the riper the cheese is. So that's how you can really tell the ripeness of a soft ripened goat like this, right? So from the Loire Valley, which you says is a neighbor, yeah?
Yeah, and so one of the things that struck me, I was looking at this plate earlier and I knew what cheeses we had selected, and I noticed there's nothing on this plate today that is 100% cow's milk.
No.
There's one cheese that is mixed and it's got, I think, 60% cow's milk, but this one is 100% goat. And then we have the other two are 100% sheep's milk. And when you look at terroir, when you look at certain regions, and you like looking at the landscape, the weather, the climate, there are certain places in Europe where cows are just not as happy.
Yeah, they're not happy in this. Yeah, exactly.
And so
they're not
sheep,
goats,
cheeses. They can thrive anywhere. And the cheeses, of course, the cuisine is going to reflect, what the land gives. And so goats do fine. Sheep can make it down there. But this is a part. Remember, it's like it borders Spain, and so it's a little bit more arid, I guess. In this, not arid. It's just it's like, I guess, it's hilly in parts, and you just find more places. It's not where cows. You can find a lot of cows.
It's not the Alps, so it's very different.
Like in northern and eastern France is where you find more of the cows and cow's milk cheeses. Normandy, Ile-de-France, and then of course in like Savoie and Comté and those areas.
Right.
So this is from just north in the Loire Valley, and this is a place. Here we are, downtown San Diego.
Yes, exactly. This is what it's like living downtown. If you're curious, that's pretty much what it's like. Yeah.
But the Loire Valley is just north of Bordeaux, and it is a place that started making cheese when the Romans settled there.
So crazy.
So just after wine was started being made in the 4th century BC in Bordeaux, the Romans came into the Loire Valley, introduced goats and goat cheese production, and it's still made to this day in the same way. Same techniques.
Isn't it something? This has a beautiful rind and textures throughout, Rob. You haven't tried it yet.
I will.
But it's really good. It's really goaty. I'm getting more sensitive in my wiser years to goat flavor. It really
it's really has a really fudgy texture, like the center of it. So the area around the rind is a little bit riper. Eat the rind, the skin of it on this one. My piece has a little mold on the rind, and I just eat it. But do it. It's not gonna hurt you. If you decide to eat that or not, I think it's flavor.
Yeah, but it's gamey. It's gamey goaty.
It's got a good goatiness to it. Now,
let's see what we think with the Bordeaux. Okay, I wouldn't say spectacular. It's not blowing me away. Neither changes too much. You know, sometimes you eat. We'll get into it. Like it changes one way or the other. I still taste the cheese and I taste the wine. So I guess you could say they're kind of good together because you don't lose either one of them.
Now this is I mean I've never seen this cheese before, but there's so many cheeses from that region that are very similar, so it's kind of a style thing.
Chabichou de Poitou, Pretens, a lot of them, right?
They have a certain type of rind. A lot of them from this region are they get covered with ash, and so they have they're called ash ripened, or they have an ash rind. There's 3 of them that I know of that are protected by the French system that protects their wines and their cheeses, as well as butters and olives and meats. And they're named for little towns in the Loire Valley, and they're ash covered. Mm-hmm. And so if you're ever wondering what that's all about, there's one it's just like this, except it has ash covered. It's called Seltzer Share. That's 3 words: SELLES space SUR space CHER.
Did you win spelling bee? And
use it in a sentence. Share.
Seltzer Share.
Cher is a good singer. That's my
Cher's
sentence.
a great singer. Seltzer Share is a good singer.
But those cheeses. Where was I going with this? Oh, the ash.
The ash. Yeah. Why the ash?
So back
come up with this? Yeah.
Centuries ago, when they were making these cheeses, and technology was not, wasn't up to where we're at today, mm-hmm. They would have to the rind is something that would be man-made because there wasn't time for it to form naturally, because the cheese would sort of acidify or become firm, mm-hmm. and the cheesemaker was also the farmer, and they had animals to take care of, and so once you milk those animals really early in the morning,
it's fast.
It happens fast, but they have to go back out and work and do other things, and so they can't sit there and watch over it or put it in in a safe climate controlled room. Yeah. So they would dust it with ash, mm-hmm. To make their own rind, and it did a couple things. It protected the paste, mm-hmm. the interior of the cheese, from just all kinds of things on the farm.
Yeah, like flies. I mean, honestly, just having the flies on it. Yeah, it would keep the flies away. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And then it became tradition. So now it's really done more for show or because of tradition. Mm-hmm. And even California cheesemakers or other cheesemakers around the United States, they copy these methods that were first done, 1,500 years ago.
Exactly.
In the Loire Valley.
It still holds true today. The ash,
mm-hmm.
Vegetable ash. What is vegetable ash? Often, and especially from regions mm-hmm. like Bordeaux, grapevines. Mm-hmm. They just burn the grapevines, and then you get this ash. So it's all natural. It's just like
Well, and so I mentioned this word terroir, and mm-hmm. I said it's everything. So whatever is native to that place. So if it is the Loire Valley, for example, their grapes are Sauv Blanc. So their place, their town is Sancerre. So if you see something called Sancerre, the label says Sancerre, it'll be a Sauvignon Blanc.
Yes.
And if there's a cheese,
rules to the to the French wine.
If there's a cheese made down the street from that, mm-hmm. they might just use dried up grape stems from mm-hmm. Sauvignon Blanc, because that is also more of a reflection of the place it comes from.
Right.
They also use whatever trees are native to that place.
Oh, that's true.
Cedar.
To wrap things, to age things.
Yeah,
that's true.
They'll use or they'll even burn the bark, like a cedar bark, to make the ash, or they'll wrap it in the bark.
Cedar.
If they make, if it's a wine region, they might even use the wine to wash or soak the cheese. I mean, there's a million things mm-hmm. they can do. Possibilities limitless.
Yeah, so cool. Well, that is very good, and it's very goaty, but I'm going to give it a good.
Oh, and we should say, when we're selecting these, one is, now that we're doing this as a series, we're trying to do all different new cheeses every time.
Yes.
So that plays a part.
Repetition.
Yeah. In case you want to go back and watch them all, if you've watched them all so far. And also, we want for all 4 cheeses to be a little different. So we want to go for different milk types, different textures, different styles. So that plays a part too, and let you be the judge which one you like best. Yeah, of the pairings. And we say pairing, but I mean really, it's wide open, and so we're looking to just kind of play around, right or wrong here. I think we went more on the regional route for this. We did, and so we'll tried to capture the terroir. The terroir. Speaking of region and close region, so we went to the Loire Valley with the goat. But now we are going to the Basque region with the P'tit Basque. So the P'tit Basque, this one has a little bit of a waxy edge, wax on the outside, and that truly is a little wax that is protecting the rind on this one. This is the P'tit Basque, Basque region, and this one is sheep milk. Mm-hmm. Yes, Rob. And if you peel the little wax off, if you accidentally ate it, don't be alarmed. It won't hurt you. It'll be fine. You shouldn't eat it. It doesn't taste so good. But the rind here does taste good. So don't cut that off. But this is the P'tit Basque. Yeah, it's kind of weird looking, but but make sure if you have the wax, it should be easy to tell. Yeah, exactly. This one, what do we call it? I think like the creme brulee of cheese.
because this one's creamy, dreamy.
Yeah.
And if I can jump in on this, sheep milk, we've talked in other classes, is superbly rich. It's very oily, very nutritious, very rich. For some reason, those rich sheep milk cheeses go super good with cherries.
That's a good point.
So you'll see on your plate, if you got a plate, you've got the little red jam. It's a cherry jam. So I definitely say you got to try some cherry jam with the sheep milk cheese. Do that anytime. Any sheep you get, Manchego, Pecorino, P'tit Basque, try it with the cherry jam. It's super, super delish. See what you think, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Let's try this.
P'tit Basque, okay, this cheese has become more well-known. It's more common. It's available in a lot of places. But it's so good.
You can never go wrong with P'tit Basque.
Yeah. So the Basque region then, Rob, encompasses the border of Spain and France.
Yeah. There's an incredible book by this guy, Mark Kurlansky, and it's called A Basque History of the World. It's really good. I highly recommend it. Email me. I'll let you borrow it.
Okay.
I'm talking to them, Gina.
Oh, it's me. Oh, yeah, everyone. Again, that was Rob at Venissimo.com.
It's a great book, but the Basque culture is ancient. I mean, language, culture, food, everything, and it encompasses parts of southern France, in Aquitaine actually, where right next to where Bordeaux is, and northern Spain. There's a region in Spain called Basque Country. And it's that's
a region. I just thought that people just called it that.
It's
like
not
we say Northern California, but that's not really.
It's an actual region in Spain. It's not the name of a region in France, though.
Okay.
But they incredible food, great. They're of course known for the maritime, lots of fishing and the seafood history, and the cheeses though are mostly sheep's milk.
Yeah,
and
the terrain, right?
It has to do with the terrain.
For the sheep. Yeah.
And by the way, terrain is another word that derives from
terroir. All comes together.
Territory.
Territory.
P'tit Basque, I would say, is it's a good starter.
It is. It's
because
just
it's mild. I still get a little bit of that gaminess, the sheep's milk on it.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, not like the goat, but
not quite as much on this one. But it's better when it sits out. There's one called Oso Arago. That's the one and only name-protected AOC protected cheese from the French Basque region. There's one from the Spanish Basque region called Idiazabal.
Yes.
And that one is smoked, but it's also sheep's milk. But there's so many great ones, and there's a whole style of kind of Basque cheeses, and they're either sheep, goat, or blended usually. Yeah. And they're usually kind of like semi-firm, natural rinded.
Yep. To me, the Basque region is the Alps of that part of the country, of the world, right? And and they have their traditions, like you said, with the sheep and that look of the wheels, the taste of the wheels, all kind of the same. But it goes to tradition. That's how everybody taught each other in the past,
exactly.
Right? And so that
lot of ciders and Espelette peppers are kind of known for the Espelette pepper. So
this one's really good with the Bordeaux. It's because, you know why I think? Because it's super creamy. I think I like it a little better with the Bordeaux.
I feel like the richness would stand up to the reds. I mean, sheep's milk, if I were to say the best descriptor, because of course sheep's milk is a broad category. They can be aged or not aged, or they can do a million things. In fact, we're going to have a very different sheep's milk in a minute. But they just tend to be very rich and full flavored, and that's because they're high in all that good stuff like fat and calcium, protein, all the fat and cheese is a good thing.
Is a good thing. We agree. Okay, Rob, I'm trying to get a question out of somebody. So if somebody sends a question, the first person to send a question, I'm going to give them a Venissimo cheese cleaver. I didn't bring one out to show you, but it's a really cool little cleaver. Yeah. So send me your question, and you will have a cleaver as we move forward. You
know, we should talk about what other stuff we have on the plate here. We have, the cherry spread. This is a whole grain mustard.
Yeah, because you got to do mustard. Dijon mustard comes from France.
Exactly, from Burgundy.
Or Burgundy.
Blueberries, chocolate-covered pretzels.
Yeah, those are probably gone off of everybody's plate already, but yum.
Little cornichons, gherks, baby gherks.
Yeah, baby French again, cornichon.
Raisins, golden raisins, Marcona almonds, and black mission figs.
Yeah.
So a little bit of everything.
Such a good thing with cheese.
Yeah. Well, so when we talk about pairing, different types of pairing. I've mentioned 4 types, and you can go any direction, and you can do multiple types of pairing for, like if you have one cheese with one wine, it can be hit on multiple types of pairing. So regional is what goes together, what grows together goes together. So it's a wine and a cheese from the same region. For flavor pairing, you have the contrasting and complementary, and that just refers to flavor. So contrasting is something salty, buttery, rich, decadent cheese with something sweet. That's the best example.
Yeah, which is great. It's yes.
And we talk about Bordeaux being pretty diverse in terms of the types of different wines that can come from there. And I mentioned Sauternes at the beginning. That's a dessert wine, and typically it can
a white port is what it reminds me of. Yeah,
but it's kind of sweet and syrupy, and it's a little bit just a little tiny bit. That's why it's served at the end for dessert. But that gives the sweet, and it's usually balanced with something like a Roquefort, which is a blue cheese, which we're going to taste. But that's another example of a contrasting pairing. Yeah. The 4th type, since I mentioned 4, is textural, and that's like a triple cream with champagne, sparkling wine with something mouth
something
coating.
crunchy with something smooth.
Or a fudgy, like a fudgy goat cheese like that. Okay.
Fudgy. All right, let's move on.
Fudgy, a good word.
Fudgy's a good word in cheese. Everything's good in cheese. Mold is good in cheese. What's not good in cheese? But, kind of partial, I suppose. All right, the next one, everyone. Now we're going to go to Spain because we're just going to go to the neighboring part of the region. This one's got like a grayish rind on it. And Rob will tell you all about this, but this is the mixed milk. This has got all 3, right?
Yeah, I can taste all 3.
Gruta and the color.
Yeah.
Goat milks tend to be the whiter in color, where the cow milk tends to be golden in color. Sometimes you can just tell a cheese just by the color.
And let's take a bite.
That's good. They're La Gruta Tres Leches. La Gruta cave.
La Gruta. Well, so I was. It's funny that sometimes we tweak their names a little bit to make it more. I don't know. Just the names
marketable.
Yeah, marketable. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. So the actual name of this cheese is Queso Tres Leches La Gruta del Sol.
Whoa.
Which means
queso, cheese, tres, 3, leches,
3
milk. Go on. Gruta
from the cave of the sun
and the sol. Sun.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
I speak Spanish.
I think it's aged in a cave that has a little bit of sunlight that shines into the cave.
So good.
And we've talked about this, but cheese does well aging in caves because it's consistent with airflow, temperature, humidity. It's just a good place for cheeses to age. And most aging rooms are built to copy the conditions of a cave. This is really unique in that it is mixed with all 3 milks. It is mostly cow's milk. It's 60% cow's milk.
That makes sense. You can taste the difference from the other 2.
Yeah, and it's then the remainder is both goat and sheep. So no buffalo, but goat, sheep for the remainder.
So good.
And it's from another really famous wine region, Rioja. It's from La Rioja in Spain. And what's interesting is Spain is kind of like Bordeaux. There's very, very few cheeses from La Rioja. And I think it's because the land is just too valuable and they get way more from growing grapes on the land.
Yeah.
Is my guess.
Sure.
But Rioja is interesting. In fact, it's been referred to, it's sometimes still referred to as the Bordeaux of Spain.
Yeah.
And what happened was just like many things is folks came through southern France through northern Spain, and on their way to Galicia, is it the pilgrimage that they used to take?
Oh, yeah. Which you still can do.
You can still do. You can still walk that. But during the Middle Ages, pilgrims came through, and of course, if you were a winemaker or a cheesemaker in some part of France and you've now come through these regions in Spain, you pass it along. You teach it. So I know they're competitive, but artisans, artists, these creators, people like to pass along what they know in their craft. It still happens today at our conferences in the world of cheese. Yeah, we pass notes on to other retailers. It's because ultimately we want to see our industry grow and
have good stuff.
If other places thrive, then we thrive.
Then we thrive. Okay, everybody, you have to lick the rind, and you have to eat this rind. You have to. I'm sorry, you do.
I have to lick it?
And wait, and then we'll do that first, because since we're talking about it. Lick it. But I think you have to chew it to really get the taste. It does taste like a cave.
Yeah.
No? I like it. Now I'm going to see if we like it with the wine.
Yeah.
Because it tastes dank. It tastes mold.
Yeah.
I taste a bit of mold. It kind of tastes that way. But I like that. It's different. Then try it with the mustard. So good. Mm-hmm.
I like it's kind of I like the tang. I get some tang from the goat's milk.
You're getting that? I get mostly cow, like you said. Definitely. But I love this cheese. This cheese should be, I would keep this in the drawer all the time. Mm-hmm.
That's really good.
You buy a whole wheel, 5 pounds, hack at it.
Try it with a Cornichon too.
Oh yeah, I didn't do that yet. Cornichons, just baby pickles, everybody. But they're so good. French.
It gives that sour, that crunch, the texture, contrast, everything. Delish.
Yeah, delish. So far, so good, everybody. But I don't have any questions. I'm feeling that the chat is not working today. So if it's not, my goodness, I apologize. I really do, but I keep making comments. But everyone's just enjoying. This is very
Maybe
good.
we're just giving so much information that they don't have any questions because we're
no time for questions.
So
interesting with the Cornichon. I don't like the wine finish with that vinegary Cornichon together.
You do or don't?
Don't.
No.
I think I like it better with that creaminess of a cheese. Just with the Cornichon in the wine, interesting, just not so much.
Yeah.
A wine, just, I don't know. I'll drink it anyway. It's not.
No, I think it's too acidic. Like that's what happens actually in bad wines. You've heard of the Billionaire's Vinegar.
No, what is the Billionaire's Vinegar?
Oh, I think it's a book,
Okay.
but it's based on the most expensive wine ever bought or sold. And by the time it was a vinegar, it had gone bad. It was like 100 years old. I haven't read the book, but I've heard or read the synopsis of it or something.
One man's wine is another man's vinegar. I don't know.
Something like that. Yeah. Trash and treasure is
something like because it's the same thing. But very good. All right, moving on.
Okay.
To the blue.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah, this is exciting.
I'm nervous and scared.
It's obvious which one's the blue cheese.
Which one is it?
I'm going to have to stab you with this knife. Yeah. Okay. So the blue cheese is a mess, but I've got a blueberry on my blue cheese. All right. The blue cheese. And this it's creamy on the inside. It's a little firmer towards the rind, towards the edge. But this is Roquefort. It looks like Roquefort, but you say Roquefort. Can you roll your R's?
Roquefort.
Yeah, very well. Very good. So sheep milk, Rob, and there's a very specific place that has to come from, right? This is the real deal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So this is actually the first ever cheese protected by the French system that protects their cheeses. The first ever.
Roquefort. That's a trivia question.
Yeah. Actually,
oh my God. That's good.
It is a blue cheese, and there is a village in the south of France called Roquefort.
I want to go to Roquefort so bad. When can we do that tour?
Soon.
Okay.
Well, we were supposed to go to southern France.
You're not going to say the C word. You don't say either of the C words today.
But I'm not going to say why we didn't go.
Okay.
But we were supposed to go last month, and we were going to be very close to Roquefort, and I was actually going to take a little side trip.
A day tour, like a tour.
To go visit the caves of Roquefort. And so underneath the village, there's a system of caves, and of course, that's where they age the cheeses. And it's an ancient cheese. It's been made forever and ever and ever. It was
crazy.
It wasn't protected until less than 100 years ago. But it has to be sheep's milk. Has to come from the region, and but it was probably first made on accident. So they trace the mold back to a rye bread that comes from the region.
So crazy, yeah.
And so somebody along the line, well, maybe it was on purpose, we don't know, but somehow a moldy bread got mixed in with cheese curds, and they aged it together, and some guy ate it.
Said, "Wow, this sounds good.
This looks good."
It does. Okay.
And for a long time, they didn't know that it was penicillin or anything like that.
Anything like that.
They would just let bread sit out and mold in these caves.
Yeah.
And
to spawn, grow the mold. I mean, you have to have that. That's what the blue is.
That's what they would do.
Yeah.
And then they would like powder, just break it up and throw it in with the curds for forever and ever and ever.
So crazy.
And so it's actually called Penicillian Roquefort, named for the village. And most blue cheeses to this day are injected with penicillin Roquefort. And of course, they're not cheesemakers aren't letting bread sit out, in their facility anymore.
Somebody should, though. Would that be the story of some cheese?
That would be interesting.
It would be interesting.
I mean, they just get on their computer and they just order, penicillin Roquefort, and it comes in. And
it's not the same.
It's
It's
not
having
the same.
a moldy piece of bread sitting, which I saw once in France. Somebody in France is doing that, though. They showed their, you know how kombucha has a mother? The mother
the
chip,
yeast
that
or
little,
whatever.
whatever that blob is,
Uh-huh.
the mother. Somebody had, I'm going to call it the mother, in France.
Yeah.
That was this piece of bread. I mean, this thing
Or
looked
cultured,
like it
like
was
cultured.
Cultured, okay. Moldy cultured. It was cool. So that would be a good story.
Yeah, I mean, there are many cheeses that stay local, but they're made all over the world. Where there's still places where they actually age cheeses in like calf stomachs. When you get
Who's
way out,
doing that?
well,
Out in the...
nothing that we would carry commercially, but I'm saying like you go out into the boonies in certain places in certain parts of the world, and it's
using everything.
The techniques that were done thousands of years ago are still done to this day in many parts of the world.
So cool. It's like going, and you've been, Rob, some of the prosciutto sellers or the culatello sellers, where these legs of meat, they're just hanging in the cellars, and spiders, the cobwebs are there, but it's all natural. It's all just really cool and good. And
you see the legs hanging in the cellars, and there's like hair on the legs and stuff. You're just like, oh my god,
should I be eating this? But then you do, and you said, yes, I should be eating this.
Oh yeah.
This is, look at my creation.
Oh, nice. I like it.
Here's an appetizer, everybody. Just Roquefort with a blue cheese with a blueberry. I like it a lot. It's a very good.
A little bit of everything.
So this one's earthy. I mean, definitely like blue. If you want a powerful blue, I think Roquefort is the way to go. I mean, it's definitely not for the mild person. This is not a starter blue. This is an advanced blue.
And this is only like maybe an hour and a half drive from Bordeaux, where this cheese is made, and
so good.
There's tons of them. There's even a certain breed that they have to use to call it Roquefort, and it's inspired all the other French blues. We were debating about using Bleu d'Auvergne or Forme d'Ambert.
Yeah.
And those are both really creamy French blues from Auvergne, which is like in the Mastiff Mountains down there.
Okay.
And they're similar, except that they're cow's milk, but they're similar in texture. And Roquefort's a little stronger. To me, it has it's got that sheep's milk kind of richness and just a lot of volume
and earth. Barnyard floor, all those good things.
I bet it would be
good with
really
the Bordeaux.
good with the golden raisins too.
Oh, I didn't try it. If I ate it all? No, I've got some more. Tell me about the Marcona almonds too. That's Spanish.
Yeah.
Everybody asks, where do we get these almonds? Okay, can I tell you? First of all, they're Marconas. They're from Spain. Secondly, they're fried. And thirdly, they're salted. I mean, what's not to like about them? This is why they're so good. Yeah.
Sounds delicious.
So you're saying the blue with the golden raisins. And raisins are just, remember that movie? Just give me a second.
Do you remember the California raisins?
The California dancing raisins. Yes. Oh my gosh. That's true.
They hoyed it through the grapevine?
Yes. And raisins are just humiliated grapes. Did you know that?
Oh, okay. They're deflated.
Benny and June. I wasn't know. But it is good with that. You know why?
Why?
Because it's the contrasting pairing, you said.
You
salty.
learned.
I did learn. I listened. The salty cheese with the sweet raisin. Yeah. Goldens are good. And what about these chocolate-covered pretzels?
Oh, so another
Dessert.
a good example of the salty sweet combo. I mean, salted caramel, but the pretzels and chocolate, and you get the texture on there too.
Oh, wow.
So good.
Chocolate with red wine is always good. So I don't care what variety you have. I think it's a good thing.
You do like chocolate and potato chips. We do we do fondue classes, and of course we always, along with cheese fondue, we do chocolate fondue.
Well, of course.
And like one of the best things to dip pretzels or potato chips.
Potato chips is the best.
Delicious.
That's just
So good.
So good. I think we covered.
Yeah.
I like the Bordeaux. So this was Chateau Blanc. I have got to get more Bordeaux's because I got to say I hadn't before this, but I do like them. Awesome. I apologize if the chat didn't work because I didn't get a single question. Either everybody's just eating, enjoyed, done chatting, or something was wrong. If something was wrong, very sorry. But you can always email us, either Rob or Gina, Gina, at Venissimo.com. Happy to try to answer a question. But we have the next Wino Wednesday scheduled and picked. 2
weeks from today, which is July 8th, I believe. And we're going to do Riesling.
Riesling. Okay. And don't be scared of Riesling. I think a lot of people are. I, too. Before I knew of the different Rieslings and how well they go with cheese, I'm like, ew, Riesling. Is that like a white Zinfandel of wine?
Well, people think Riesling is always sweet, and that's just not the case. You can,
not the case.
You can have dry Rieslings. And
yeah, we can't talk too much about it.
We'll save it. We'll save it.
But Riesling, July 8th. Thank you again.
Yeah.
The cheese names are listed online. And again, it was on the lid of your plate. And we thank for the support.
Yeah.
And
thanks, everybody.
Cheers to cheese, as we like to say. And hope to see you again soon.
And the next class is Sunday night.
Yes. Where we are talking. Do you want to see?
Sunday sessions. If you can see her tat there, we'll be talking about fear.
Fear.
And not having fear when it comes to facing
food.
Crazy cheeses.
Yeah, exactly.
Food, but especially cheese.
Especially cheese. Do not fear the cheese.
No fear.
We'll leave it with that. Good night, everyone.
Bye. Have a good night. Mwah.